Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Epic Galactic Core podcast. You know, I almost said welcome back to the Epic Lights Camera Rant podcast then. I've been on that show so much that I forget which show mine is, to be fair. That should give you a bit of a hint to who today's guest is. But first of all, if you're not following the Galactic podcast, get on our social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. You can also see every episode live here on YouTube, also on Twitch. You can catch it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere where you get a podcast, you will find this podcast. Also, don't forget, jump over to the merch store. That's still going on. Got my Galactic Court podcast merch here. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, baby onesies, bomber jackets, cups. It's all over there. Make sure you jump over, grab your GCP merch right now. But we are here this week. We've got a few bits to discuss. We've got some Doomsday announcements. Since it is a Marvel review, we've got the shittest game in podcast history, MCU or Real Life You. Leigh's looking confused, even though he's played the game before. And of course, we're going to be chatting about this week's double episode drop of Daredevil Born Again, episodes 5 and 6. But first and foremost, please welcome to the show one of the highest earning returning guests in podcast history. If this man actually made money from appearing on everyone else's podcasts, he wouldn't need to work a podcast, let's put it that way. So, but please welcome back to the show, Mr. Rant himself, Lights Camera Rant.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I'm happy to be back on one of my favorite podcasts ever, period. And I have to tell you, is that your intro this looks fantastic. I think this is the first time you're on the show with your full new setup, and that looks so good. And you're my next international merch buy, as guaranteed. I'm disappointed I didn't hear about the cock pieces or the condoms or the rest of the stuff that you can get in your merch store. I really do need those as well. So you should add them.
Maybe. If I'm selling baby onesies, I'm not really sure I want to encourage people to buy condoms. So
yeah,
don't buy the condoms. Just do what you do, and then you can buy the baby onesie, and then we're all set.
You make more. Yes, true. You probably make more money with the onesie.
Although the condoms, I'm sure, are more of a long-term sellable item rather than a baby onesie. Because once you've got one, you're not really going to need another one. So
that's right. Yeah, pack of 50.
Well, I'm not sure I can control how many's in the pack, to be fair. So.
But happy to be back, man. And you're right. We've got so much to talk about with what's happened this week alone in Marvel, which Thursday was pretty much a double whammy.
Thursday was a long day in the Marvel universe. If anyone watched the live stream, we'll get to that in a moment. But just first and foremost, Leigh, tell us what's been going on. Lights Camera Rant. You're a couple of months away from your 4-year anniversary. Pretty much never missed. Well, I say pretty much. You haven't really missed a week, even though if you take sometimes a couple of days liberty either way because you're such a slacker, obviously. But having never really missed a week in 4 years. That's incredible work, my friend.
Thank you, man. That's right. Yeah, last week was the 200th episode of our main line of episodes. So that was 200 weeks that we've been doing the podcast. That's 200 Tuesdays that we have not missed a single week. And in about 4 months' time, we will be celebrating the 4th year anniversary of the podcast starting, which was during COVID times. And in 4 weeks after, 4 or 5 weeks after that, will be our very first episode of Lights Camera Rant, where we'll be going live in Europe.
The international tour is coming to Lights Camera Rant.
Yep, T-shirts are on their way.
And if you want to see the difference between what it was like because obviously I started mine almost 2 years ago. In fact, it'll be 2 years ago next week. In 2 weeks' time, by the way, we have the second anniversary episode coming with obviously a group of podcasts coming on for a bit of fun and a bit of banter. Technically next week's my second anniversary, if I'm going by dates anyway. But yeah, I started obviously mine 2 years ago on the back of having been guests plenty of times on podcasts, so I kind of knew how to get mine set up and how to go about things and how to talk about it. But if anyone wants to laugh, go back and watch the very first episodes of Leigh's, because I swear to God, he was drunk for most of the first episodes.
That's guaranteed. Yes, those first, at least tell you 50 episodes were not sober because it was during COVID.
Well, it's funny. Just sitting there having a beer, chatting about it. That's kind of, I mean, we do this to chat about it because we love chatting about it, to be fair. Who cares if we're drunk or not? I mean, I couldn't really drink now because it's like 9:30 in the morning for me as we're recording this. So, I mean, I could.
Don't you worry.
I could drink, technically, but I don't think the wife would be too happy if I finish this podcast and we've still got the rest of Saturday to go.
That's fine. That's all right. Let her drive. I will make a side note. If someone does go back and listen to those first two episodes, it's my voice doing the intro and the outro. That's just how bad that is.
I mean, to be fair, you know that in terms of how my setup is now, in terms of like obviously the screen and having intros, outros, stuff like that, you know that it's heavily inspired by yourself, because we, in our little circle, we all aspire to be like Lights Camera Rant, really, because you're the head runner, the Mr. Consistency, all of his stuff getting out there and having the podcast look beautiful on screen. So you know that you've been a big inspiration for that for me. So thank you for that, buddy, because I know that for a while anyway, whilst I still use it on my outro, I've changed my intro a bit, but we do have the same voiceover guy and stuff like that.
We do.
Because I literally pestered you and went, who does your voiceovers? I need to speak to this guy and employ him, which I did. So I did have it for a while for my intro and outro. I still use it for the outro, but obviously my intro is a little bit different, more comic book based, because that's tend to what I do, whereas you obviously cover a wide spectrum of stuff on your show. So I'm very much in my niche corner over here. Although, can you call Marvel and Star Wars niche? I'm not really sure you can.
You can. Like you do. That's your area of expertise. Mine's probably 60% Marvel. The rest is movies of like French or something different. But I do remember when you sent me your intro, and I was like, God, that guy sounds really good.
Yeah, because he's your guy.
Yeah, I know. And the fact is, he's a pastor at a church. Yeah, it's his day job, and this is what he does on the side.
It's great though. I mean, because he puts all these special effects and stuff on it. Because like I've always said that if you ever watch Lights Camera Rant or listen to it, then listen to it through headphones just for the intro alone, because the special effects that this guy put on for the intro makes it sound phenomenal in headphones. It's really bizarre how good it sounds in a headphones. You don't get the effect if you just listen through speakers. So if you ever get that chance, absolutely do it. But Mr. Clam Randalorian, good morning, gentlemen.
Hey!
Good to see you, buddy. I don't know what he's doing up, because it's like 2 or 3 in the morning his time.
It's great to see you.
Well, I know he's a good friend. He does like to do things. I'm sure he's up feeding the baby, to be fair, rather than especially joining to see us. But Brandon, I appreciate you joining and saying hello, buddy. Good morning to you. Keep an eye out as well. Brandon's going to be appearing a lot on this podcast over the next sort of 6 weeks or so, because he's coming on to discuss Andor. He's going to be here for the anniversary episode. He's going to be here for the May the 4th special, and we're sort of doing an open Star Wars chat that we did a few weeks back. We're going to do another one before Andor drops. So if you like Clan Mandalorian, which I'm sure you do, because he's fucking amazing, then make sure you're tuning into this podcast, because he's going to be on here just as much as he's going to be on his own. So,
and I look forward to seeing both of you coming on Lights Camera Rant when we're going to be looking at Andor when that kicks off.
That's true. That's absolutely true. That's only in about 3 weeks' time as well. So a lot happening.
No, that's what we were just talking about.
It's just mental.
It was like, this special, this TV show, this special, this shit.
So much going on. Just before we crack onto it, then I'm just going to do one last big plug. 2 weeks' time, Saturday the 12th of April, if you're in the UK and in America. Sunday morning, the 13th of April, if you're down under with Mr. Rant. The second anniversary episode of the Galactic Core podcast is going to be myself, obviously Leigh from Lights Camera Rant. We've already mentioned Clan DeLorean is joining us. Joey from Krypton to Alderaan is going to be joining us as well. 2 out of the 3 gorgeous guys from Why So Serious will also be joining us, and potentially one other special guest who's trying to make it work. Michael from Stark Wars, who was on last year's anniversary episode. We're trying to see if he's able to get on and join us, because he's a little bit busy with his with his kids at the moment. So hopefully he's going to be able to make it. But it's going to be a massive episode. Going to be lots that we're doing. Again, Star Wars and Marvel quizzes. We're going to be doing Nerd Octagons. We're going to be doing fun little scenarios and chats. And there's going to be a special Star Wars quiz where it's going to be Clan Mandalorian versus the Galactic Core podcast. Me versus Brandon, the 2 top Star Wars dogs against each other.
Whoa.
Don't make me say it, Leigh. Don't make me say it. How's your Clone Wars and Rebels episodes going?
I just found a YouTube video that just shows me the whole thing in 2 minutes.
Not good enough. If you haven't watched the material of the 7 episodes of Clone Wars and the 4 series of Rebels multiple times, then it's just not good enough, I'm afraid. Otherwise, Leigh, you'd be in the Star Wars quiz, but you're not. You're in the Marvel quiz, so.
Oh, good. That'll be an easy win.
You did win the Marvel quiz last year, so. I
did. I was just thinking that. I was like, I won that last time, and I was pretty happy because I thought I was going to lose to Michael.
Thought I'd give you a chance again, so you're back in the Marvel quiz, boy. This year you'll be up against JD, just to give you some information. You've seen the episode plan, so you know who you're up against. You're up against JD. You were going to also be up against Caleb from West Sicilius, but he's chickened out of coming on the episode, unfortunately. So it's hopefully going to be Michael from Lights Camera Rant taking his place. Michael from Lights Camera Rant, Michael from Stark Wars.
I never knew I had a co-host. Wow.
Well, So hopefully he'll be jumping onto the Marvel one. If not, then we may have to find an alternate person, so it's just not you versus JD, because that might be a little bit unfair. Clan Mandalorian is like, we can cook up some Clone Wars quiz questions for Leigh, given the spotlight. I'm sure we could.
I better start studying now.
Name anyone who isn't a main character in Star Wars that appears in Clone Wars. Go on. Give you the easiest question from the start. But yeah, so 2 weeks' time, anniversary episode. It's going to be a big one. Please make sure you're tuning in for that, because I really want as many people as possible to come in. Lots of audience interaction, because 5-6 different podcasts appearing together is always going to be fun. So it's going to be a good laugh on that one. Yeah. But we are here to talk Marvel. We've got quite a bit to get through. Let's start off with what turned out to be a massive 5-hour-long stream that took way too long to give us some basic announcements, plus a few surprises, to be fair. But the Doomsday cast announcement happened this week.
Yeah, it did.
There was a lot going on. I'm not sure I like the style of how they did this. Or, to be fair, I don't mind them doing it in terms of the fact that they had the names on all the backs of the chairs of the actors. But to take 15 minutes between announcements, it's not like we were going to celebrate for 15 minutes that Chris Hemsworth has been announced that he's appearing in Doomsday when we knew he was going.
I know. It could have been a little bit shorter.
Yeah, well, I don't think we needed 5 hours, that's for sure. So, definitely took way too long. But it's all about the hype. They're trying to get it hyped up, because we're only just over a year away now from this happening, and it doesn't feel like there's been enough build up with maybe the films and TV series getting to the Doomsday point. So it's going to be interesting to see how much gets set up between now and then, or whether it's almost like a self-contained story that can just start off from scratch. But lots of announcements going on. I think there were some big surprises in there. The biggest surprise being that the original X-Men cast are coming back. Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, I can't remember the names off my head because I don't have that in front of me, but Nightcrawler, Mystique, Cyclops, loads of the original ones coming back. Even Gambit as well, with announced to come back with Channing Tatum. So obviously this is going to be the Deadpool version of Gambit that we saw. It's not going to be some weird version they kept hidden away in the original X-Men universe. But
no, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, Mystique, Rebecca Romijn James Marsden, yeah, Channing Tatum, obviously Pedro Pascal, but yeah, that was the biggest surprise for me. Like when watching the chairs, I was like, "Oh, cool, Patrick Stewart. Oh, Ian McKellen, that's interesting. Gambit, okay, holy shit. All right, Nightcrawler, Mystique, which and then James Marsden back as Cyclops, which I want Cyclops. He better be wearing his the I don't care if it's like dark blue, yellow suit from X-Men 97. That's what he better be wearing. But we haven't seen James Marsden since Days of Future Past. We haven't seen Nightcrawler since X-Men 2. We haven't seen Mystique since she made a cameo in First Class. We haven't seen Ian McKellen since Days of Future Past. And we haven't seen Gambit since Deadpool and Wolverine
since last year. Yeah, a long way for him. Yeah, great to see that they're going to be back. Just quickly from Brandon, is Doomsday going to be as big as Infinity War and Endgame? That's kind of their aim in a way. So it's not the culmination of 23 movies and 4 phases put together, or 3 phases put together. But the idea is that it is the next big Avengers event. So obviously you've got Doomsday. The following year from that, we get Secret Wars, which is a massive comic book event. And almost, if true to form, that they stay with a comic book influence, it's going to be a soft reboot for the Marvel Universe as well. It's going to bring in a lot of characters. So it is a massive changing event for Marvel. Obviously, it just doesn't have the build-up that Infinity War and Endgame did.
No.
And it doesn't have the build-up of the cast maybe as well, despite the fact that I'm trying to do this big hype up now, and you've got Robert Downey Jr. returning. Obviously, he's a different character, but he's obviously coming back. So yeah, it doesn't have the build-up and the intensity, I think, that obviously Infinity War and Endgame have, but it is their next big, massive event. And it's going to do numbers. It's going to make money.
Oh, it's going to be... It's gonna be 100%. Like even so, I saw like it was like a chat between like Marvel and Robert Downey Jr. It was like Marvel was like, "Oh, do you think that's enough?" And Robert Downey Jr. coming and saying, "No, there's room for more."
Yeah.
Which is which I'm gonna take a stab and say we are gonna see a lot more Marvel characters in this movie. I would just say that from this announcement, this will just be the main core cast.
I think anyone else now will be smaller cameos as opposed to the big guns. Or obviously, even if they probably will still be big guns, but there'll be smaller cameo appearances in the film rather than this is like the core cast of what's going to make up the film. But again, even then, you can say in Infinity War, we didn't necessarily have everyone. Everyone played little roles here and there, but we didn't necessarily. And we didn't get everyone together, so to speak, do we? Whereas now we're going to get everyone in Secret Wars. We will get all of them together. But I think one of the maybe surprising announcement, or one that took some people by surprise, including yourself, but it was a welcome announcement, was the return of Namor as well from Black Panther.
Namor. Yeah. Love Namor. that was the surprise. I was like, I'm really glad the fact that he's back. And I was saying to a mate, I'm like, how do you just have a guy that could literally beat the Hulk to an absolute pulp, and then bye-bye. You're not going to be seen for another 9 movies and 3 TV shows, even though you could whip pretty much everyone's ass right now except for Miss Marvel. But we're not going to see you. Like, holy shit, like him coming up against half the villains, like he's going to tear through them.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, who else did anyone else really stand out from the announcement list? I mean, obviously, like I said, the original X-Men. I mean, we forgot to mention Kelsey Grammer returning as Beast as well. Although what's interesting is that going to be the Beast that we see at the end of the Captain Marvel or the Marvels film that's in the different universe? I mean, that could be the same original X-Men universe. To be fair, it's just they've evolved now because they've got their version of Captain Marvel in there as well. Or is he going to be the Kelsey Grammer from the original X-Men films? So there's a question there of, is that universe the original X-Men universe, or is it a separate one where Beast just happens to be in? So that's an unanswered question right now.
I'm going to take a stab and say it will be that Beast from the Miss Marvel cameo. So it's more connected, because I feel like if it's from a different universe, then what's happening with that Miss Marvel Sorry, Proton.
Yeah.
What's the name? Yeah, Proton. Like it would make more sense. The fact, and even like the aesthetic of just not just Kelsey Grammer, but being in that room looked very X-Men classic. In that room. So, and he even says, he's like, I'll go talk to Professor. So I'd hope it would be that one to make sense and have that connectivity together.
Fair. I suppose probably two other big points to cover from the casting. One that kind of really annoyed me was the fact that they announced the entire Thunderbolts lineup. In this film, so kind of ruins the fact that apart from Taskmaster, which I don't even think they're hiding the fact that Taskmaster gets killed in this film now, because I heard that there was a shot originally that they did where it was all 6 of them, and now they've put it out there and it's just the 5 of them. They've just edited her out or something, or they edited her in originally. So I don't even think Marvel are hiding the fact that Taskmaster isn't making it through this film. One of them had to go and whatever. So, but yeah, it kind of ruins it the fact that we now know that all of the Thunderbolts, including Sentry, make it through this film.
I know.
And appear in and are going to appear in Doomsday. So that was a little bit of an annoyance when you're building up the hype for this film, and you're thinking, is Sentry going to make it through? They're going to find a way to nerf him or kill him. Is maybe Ghost was a prime candidate to be killed off? Is she going to make it through? Because there's no way you're killing off Red Guardian or obviously Winter Soldier. And Florence Pugh's character, whose name I always forget for some reason, Yelena, that's it. And obviously even US Agent, all of these guys were probably heads on to make it through the film. But someone like Ghost, you're like, oh, does she really have a place in the future of Marvel films? It could be a good one to be killed off. But yeah, she's all there. Obviously, Fantastic Four, we saw are going to be appearing as well, which is always high on my prediction list of going to happen, because I reckon at the end of Fantastic Four, they obviously make the jump through the multiversal bridge and end up in the main universe, and Doom follows them. That's how he ends up here. Maybe one surprise name on that list. Obviously, Letitia Wright was announced as Black Panther, but then Winston Duke and M'Baku, I was surprised that his name was on that list. It's a big casting announcement. Anyway, I love M'Baku as a character. In the Wakanda Forever film, when he's chatting in front of the council, and Okoye
bald-headed demon.
Apparently, that was an improvised line as well. That wasn't in the script. He improvised that himself. That was brilliant, because it's one of the funniest lines in the entire film. But apart from that, obviously, I think they might announce some cameos of people to come in the film. But apart from that, there isn't much else to really say. I mean, although Loki was a big announcement, I think, as well, given where he is in terms of where he's at the moment, he's sat there holding the multiverse together. I guess if you're going to destroy the multiverse, which is kind of the point of Doom turning up, you've got to take on Loki because he's holding the multiverse together.
Loki wasn't a surprise to me.
I mean, just in terms of the fact that, like, where he was left off, and the fact that it was such a good place for him to be. And okay, to take down the multiverse, you're going to have to take on Loki. But surely at this point, Loki is, like, well overpowered and could really, really take on Doom quite easily. In terms of the MCU versions right now, I'm talking about, let's not get started on comic book versions because it's a whole different story in terms of Doom. But I think right now, Loki, like, being as strong as he is, he would easily be able to, like, repel Doom from destroying the multiverse. So I was maybe surprised and thought that might be something they saved for the start of Secret Wars rather than Doomsday. But to announce him as a big cast member as well, rather than like a cameo.
Yeah, the fact he's got a full seat, and that's the thing is, like, I think a lot of people, I saw people commenting and saying, "Oh no, they haven't announced this person, they haven't announced that person." I'm like, they're gonna be in it. You cannot have this X-Men without Hugh Jackman and Deadpool. I'm like, I would hold that too. So the fact you still get the shock value.
Yeah. So, but yeah, plenty of people either still to be announced or will have cameos, and everyone's going to be in Secret Wars. So, not going to matter one way or another.
Nicolas Cage, Ben Affleck is Daredevil. I do hope that one person that I do hope he does make an appearance and get some justice is Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I'm like, come on, like, he's been in Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm like, give him that spotlight in Avengers.
Fair enough.
Like, yes, we are talking about a multiversal war, and there's magic and everything. Like, here you go, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange
Well,
hasn't been announced.
I mean, to be fair, there were quite a few people that over the last few weeks they've said they're not going to necessarily be in Doomsday, but they will obviously be in Secret Wars. Tom Holland's Spider-Man was one of those people. Doctor Strange was one of those people. So you know, there's Hulk being one of those people, like Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. So Moon Knight again was a potentially one. So it depends how they want to split it up, because there's too many rumors right now, too many wild theories about how they're going to split it all up and fit everyone in. So I just want to sit back and just let them rock it and just see what happens. So
I still think that first trailer is gonna be right up there. even the movie might not be right up there, but I still think that trailer is gonna be right up there with the Infinity War trailer in terms of numbers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I was like, for the average fan, I'm like, he's Doom. Here is freaking Doctor Doom, and he not only being a villain in his villain being a side character in a movie, the fact that the whole Avengers movie is about this motherfucker.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait for obviously the whole point in casting Robert Downey Jr. as Doom is to see that emotional impact on the rest of the characters when they're confronted with this guy that looks exactly like Tony Stark but isn't Tony Stark. You know, I can't wait to see that, and because a lot of people are obviously criticizing he's not the right person to do it. He's not going to be the long-term Doom anyway. Once it has a soft reboot after Secret Wars, we will get a proper MCU Doom, I think, to go alongside the Fantastic Four. But this is just all about the emotional impact of having a Tony Stark variant, so to speak, pop up.
It's going to be like, I'm sure there will be a scene, because we know how much Kevin Feige loves Star Wars, as I'm sure we're going to get a scene that very similar to Star Wars Rebels, where how Ahsoka hits Darth Vader's helmet with a lightsaber, and we see the crack.
Okay.
Someone
did watch a YouTube video, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But I'm sure we'll get something like that and have him turn around and everyone go,
yeah.
Oh my god! But it's give the Fantastic Four going, why are you all shocked?
yeah. That
what? Fun. And then, Mr. Fantastic, I'm the smartest person. I'm the smartest man alive. Why are you all shocked?
It's going to be fun. But we've got a lot to. Like I said, about a year or so to wait. It's going to be a tense time waiting for it to drop. I can't wait, to be fair.
No, neither can I.
Let's move on. So it is a Marvel review this week, so it does mean the return of the most pointless game in podcast history. So let's crack on with a fresh weekly game of MCU or Real Life You. Yes, welcome to the most pointless game in podcast history. It means nothing. It's just a bit of fun. If you haven't seen this game before, normally what I do is I will give my guest a MCU character, the actor or actress that plays them, and normally I would give them, say, the co-host of their podcast or something like that, but since Leigh is a loner and doesn't have any friends to host a show with, we are going to put it up against his wife. So it's going to be a case of MCU character, the real life person that plays them, and his wife. Who would Leigh rather spend the day with, go out to dinner with, go to a theme park with? And let's see what happens. I love it when it causes a bit of friction between podcast hosts, and who am I to be here disrupting a marriage as well? So why not?
Give me a break. It's only been 6 months. Give me a break.
Got to get some tension in there somehow, mate. Got to give a way to you to fight, reconcile, and push forward. So. So it's all good. There's no hard feelings if you don't pick your wife. I'm sure she won't mind. I'm sure she's not even watching, to be fair.
Oh no, she watches. She watches. Or she can hear me.
She just sits there quietly in the background like, I shall have words with him later.
I know Andy would never pick me.
But since we are watching Daredevil, it's going to be some Daredevil characters that
okay.
I think you
were going to go. I was going to say, as long as you don't pick Elizabeth Olsen, because I think I know what the answer would be.
So, Amy on YouTube saying, I know Andy would never pick me. For anyone watching or listening, that's my wife, who is being lovely and tuning in from the room next door. And she's fucking right. So, Barely wanted to pick her for the marriage, so let's crack on. No, I'm joking, my love. I love you.
I don't think he is. I'm waiting to hear a door slam in a second.
Yeah, she knows I'm not joking. It's fine. Don't worry. Right, let's get back to the game. So, Daredevil. So it's going to be Daredevil characters that I'm throwing at you. So, who would you rather spend the day with? John Bernthal, Frank Castle, or your lovely wife? Who would you rather spend the day with? Bear in mind, you can pick whatever you want to do that day. Yeah, like I said, you can go out to dinner, you can go to a theme park, you can go scuba diving. There's no threat that you're going to get killed, even if you piss off Frank Castle. So I have to point that out because someone was like, I don't want to go out with Kingpin in case he kills me or if I piss him off. I'm like, so let's just put the premise in there that no matter what you say, you're not going to get killed by these characters either. So yeah, Frank Castle, John Bernthal, or your wife. Who would you rather spend the day with?
I'll pick Frank for 2 reasons.
Hit me.
1, because I want to ask him everything about Daredevil Season 2. And 2, I want to ask him everything about Odysseus.
Expand.
The brand new upcoming Christopher Nolan movie.
I mean, that's not Frank Castle, that's John Bernthal then.
Sorry, John Bernthal, sorry.
I was going to say, why would Frank know anything about Odysseus?
An old ship. I think going with Frank would be a fun time, especially if someone were to piss him off. Like, that would be pretty good to watch.
Fair. So, okay, John Bernthal wins round 1. So, round 2, so we have got Karen Page, Deborah Ann Wolfe, or your lovely wife. Who would you rather be spending the day with?
My wife, because her name's Karen, and I feel like it'd be a really bland dinner. And I'd just be asking, going, why'd you leave Matt? Why'd you leave a blind guy in New York City by himself when your friend just died? How is that helpful?
Why did you move to San Francisco? Did you want to go and partner up with She-Hulk instead?
Yeah, exactly.
But there we go. So he's picking his wife on that one because if he picked the other woman that I gave him, he'd be in trouble. And then round 3, just as the last one, would you rather spend the day with Bullseye, Wilson Bethel, or your lovely wife?
I'd say my wife because he's one crazy son of a bitch. And
you've got the actor. He didn't have to go out with the crazy guy, you know.
And not to mention the fact that I've seen what he does to people's friends. So no, thank you.
Fair enough. So that means that 2 rounds go to the wife, and only 1 to the actor, and none to the character.
No.
So I think that's the first time ever someone's picked their wife or co-host or anything like that over the MCU characters. So Leigh's a real arse licker there. Well done on that one, mate. Get some brownie points with the wife. It's absolutely fine.
If you picked if you said Matt, I would have picked Matt. If you picked Kingpin, I probably would do Kingpin. If you picked I'm trying to think where else in the show I would actually spend the evening with. Probably Vanessa, because she's rich.
It's fair. I mean, the reason you didn't get like some of the other headliners is because when I do these episodes and I pick, and obviously I'm using the the show that we're reviewing as well for the characters. I already picked those last time round for the people that were guesting. So I wasn't going to repeat it. I tried not to repeat it, to be fair.
So I get the leftovers. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I mean, that's quality matches quality at the end of the day, isn't it? So,
all right.
But anyway, let's move on, shall we? I love just trying to use the game to cause tension. That's all I'm doing it for. I want a bit of fun. But thank you for that, Leigh. So that was the most pointless gaming podcast history for this week, all done and dusted. Thank you very much, Leigh, for playing MCU or Real Life You. So let's crack on to what we're actually here to discuss with 35 minutes in, and we'll finally get to the meat of the episode. So Daredevil episodes 5 and 6, double episode drop for us this week. So we are officially into the last third now of the series with these episodes done and dusted. 7, 8, and 9 left to go. Just before though, my wife is chiming in again. Picking your wife over people by choice is better than saying you picked her over the leftovers.
True, that's true.
Fair enough. Always looking on the bright side. My wife, she has to when she's married to me. So, but yeah, episodes 5 and 6 done and dusted. Only 7, 8, and 9 to go. So we're 2/3 of the way through this series now. How are How are you feeling about being 2/3 of the way through and what we've seen so far?
Look, it's kind of gut wrenching the fact that we are over the halfway point. I must admit, because just how hyped I was for this show ever since it got first announced. And the fact that this has been my most anticipated show of the year, and the fact that we're halfway through, but it does warm my heart knowing that season 2 is being currently shot right now. So at this time next year, we'll get season 2. And so far, I think that this is peak. Like, I'm talking, this show is on the same level as Loki and WandaVision in the same breath so far.
I would put it above WandaVision. I mean, I didn't mind WandaVision, but I think you could have locked half of WandaVision off and it wouldn't have made too much of a difference. Into like the first 3 or 4 episodes, you could have lost those and it wouldn't have made a difference to the rest of WandaVision.
It was setting the scene.
I know, but it was almost not needed in a way. You could have condensed what happened in the first 3 episodes into like a half an hour episode, and it would have had the same effect, I think. So. In terms of Loki is currently, I think, the top rated MCU TV series. It's top of the pile. I obviously really loved it. Daredevil has always been one of my favourite comic book characters. The Netflix series are up there as some of my favourite TV of all time. I maybe not the best person to ask about all-time series because I don't have as much a broader range of things that I've watched as other people. But in terms of if I'm picking, my sci-fi superhero fandom genres, then yes, Daredevil sits up there amongst it. I've been a little bit up and down, I think, with this series so far, simply because there are bits that I love. So I think they're trying to keep the original tone of the Netflix series by having some of the action mixed in with the philosophical chats and seeing Matt as he is as a lawyer and that side of it. At the same point, I don't think they're giving us everything that they promised us or told us we were getting. I know there's still 3 episodes to go. Look at that face. Let's get into that then. So, because I know that there's a point on this that we talked about before we jumped on as well. So we'll get to that first then, shall we? So before we jump in, because I want to chat about episode 5 and 6 almost like separate entities in a way. But even though there's going to be some crossover talk about it right now. So before this series started, we were told there was going to be far more action than we got in the Netflix series and a lot less talking. Yes. That hasn't happened. Are you telling me that there's been balls to the wall action in this series so far in 6 episodes?
No, but there's been action.
But we were told more action than talking, and there's been more talking than action.
Well, no. Apparently, going back, apparently there was a lot more talking than action. So the fact that we're getting more action than talking, it just means that we're not getting double the action and talking, which I've been pretty satisfied with the action so far.
I'm not saying the action's been bad. I'm just saying we were told there was more action than talking, and they cut down the talking compared to the Netflix series, and they haven't. Yeah. It's been pretty much on par with the Netflix series for that side of it, and a bit less action. So. But speaking of the action side of it, originally we've been told, obviously, me and you can't verify whether this is true, or obviously any of the people that were there know. But we were told that Kevin Feige walked in originally when he saw the original plan for the series and the scripts and stuff. He was like, first of all, why aren't Karen and Foggy in it? You need to bring them back. You brought them back only to kill off one of the characters in the first 10 minutes, supposedly. And then he apparently was livid about the fact that in the original script we didn't get Daredevil on screen in the suit until the end of episode 4 originally. So he said that's not good enough, we need to change that up. So what they did, the way that they changed it up, is we got him for the first 10 minutes of the first episode, and then we don't see him again until the end of episode 6. So in a way, we've kind of gone longer now without seeing him than what the original plan was, because the original plan was to get it done by the end of episode 4. And okay, we saw him straight at the off, which we kind of needed to be fair. But then you've literally given us almost an entire 5.5 episodes before we see him as Daredevil again. And so that to me was a little. If your reasoning for going in and going, we need to change this up because we don't see him for 4 episodes as Daredevil, and then you give us 10 minutes at the start, and then 5.5 episodes without Daredevil again, that means you've still got nearly 2/3 of a series before giving us Daredevil again.
Yes, but look, this is where I have to disagree with you a little bit. Is the fact that, and I did a massive rant about this in my last week's episode. Mine was that the whole point of the show is called Daredevil Born Again. So the fact that we haven't seen him in the suit since the very first episode, to me, makes perfect sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to see him in the suit. I would love him kicking ass like he was in Daredevil season 1 and season 2, being in the red suit. Which season 3 he wasn't in the red suit, I think, at all. He was all in the black one.
No.
Because it makes you much more earned. Like when he put on the suit in episode 6, it felt so much. I was like, yes, like put on that suit and go kick some ass. So, because the whole thing is him born again, so it makes sense to me.
I understand that premise. I just think we've gone an episode and a half too long to get him back in the suit. Because now we'll get. I think we're probably edging into talking about episode 6 now because of where I want to go with the conversation. So, but at the end of the day, we've got to the point where you're finally bringing in the guy who is supposedly the big bad of the series, the villain, and you've waited really until the end of episode 5 and episode 6 to bring him in and influence Matt to go back to being Daredevil.
He was now you've only got 2.
Well, yeah, but is a small little cameo thing. You can't really count that. It's not Muse showing up and doing his thing. Whereas we've now waited until we're 2/3 of the way through to bring in the big bad as well. And so it's almost like it's an episode or two too late. Because you can't really ramp up the story in 3 episodes as well as rounding off Fisk and Daredevil's general storyline. So to me, they've just waited maybe an episode or two too long to introduce this back in. Because bearing in mind these episodes have been like 40, 45 minutes to an hour long. You could have literally had this done by the end of episode 4 and then had him back at the start of episode 5 to give us half a series of Daredevil with Daredevil in it as opposed to Matt Murdock. So that's my only gripe about it.
You could, but like, okay, we might as well just go into it. Do you feel like episode 5 was a waste of time?
It's a hard one, yes and no, because I love the episode, and sometimes it's nice to take a breather from the general stuff, and because like this was billed as like a life in the day of Matt Murdock, so to speak, where he's being cunning and he's using his like lawyer tactics, but then being able to exert his special abilities as Daredevil at the same time. At the same point, when you're on, I see a 9-episode series or an 8-episode series or a 6-episode series is a limited series run. So you have a very limited amount of time to tell your story. And when you then take an entire episode away from that to tell just one enclosed one-off story, maybe setting up, obviously it has wider connotations for the MCU. It's connecting things. It's linking things together for possible future link-ups as well between characters. But at the same point, you've taken an entire episode away from the main story just to have a bit of fun. And so I understand why they did it. I really enjoyed the episode. We're going to get onto it, obviously. But at the same point, when you've got a limited series with limited episodes, I don't like time wasting. I want to have the main story in there almost every minute of every episode.
Yeah, I understand that. I fully understand that. But you gotta remember, like this. You gotta remember, like we guaranteed. Like I know probably a couple of people will disagree with me on this. Is that the original structure for this was 18 episodes long. So we're guaranteed a season 2, which is currently filming at the moment. So, you know, we never know. Muse might not actually be defeated at the end of this show. He might still linger on in season 2.
I don't think he will, simply because the way the MCU do treat their villains, in terms of like there's so many one and done villains, even with the big Avengers films. Like Ultron may be coming back at some point, but Ultron was one and done. Thanos had a big build up, but only lasted really 2 films. And it was 2 different Thanoses as well, because they killed one and then killed the other. Every villain is barely lasted longer than its own film or series. So I have my own theory about how the end of this series goes with Muse and Daredevil and the Anti-Vigilante Task Force and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, yeah, thing is, I treat video games the same. I hate side quests in video games. Obviously, it fleshes out the game to be loads of additional content and stuff like that. But it's like one of my favourite game franchises of all time is Mass Effect trilogy of games. I absolutely adore them, but I would have preferred it if every minute of those games was pure plot and pure main storyline, rather than all these little side missions that you have to do and build up things. And it's the same with any game. I just don't like side missions. I want main storyline all the time. And I know that's impossible because you have to find ways to flesh everything out, and there has to be side plots and stuff like this. But for me, I treat games and TV series the same. I want full plot all the time, no side quests, no side missions, no side partings, no taking a break to have a filler episode. Back in the days when we had 24 episode series that went on for months.
Yeah.
And it was like 20 minutes or 40 minutes an episode. You know, Stargate, prime example, that you could have an overarching plot line going for either the entire series or series to series, but you had to have filler episodes in to break things up and build up the lore of the universe. Here, you don't need that. You don't need that in Daredevil. It's a bit of fun, and it's a bit of maybe a break than doing it, because maybe it had more of an impact on episode 6 by the fact that episode 5 was so completely a one-off different one. But I was kind of expecting this week to be a 2-parter.
Yeah, because the fact that they dropped 2 episodes.
Yes, exactly. They obviously wanted to finish it off before Andor starts, which is the main reason for having a double episode. I mean, it's almost the norm now to have a double episode drop on premiere week.
It is now, because we got 3 for Andor, don't we?
Yeah, well, that's every week. To be fair, it's like a movie essentially every week for 4 weeks. But it's just the fact they looked at it and went, okay, we need to get it finished the week before Andor, so we're going to have a second episode double drop, and that feels the only reason that they've done that. They didn't connect in any way. There was no need to have a double episode drop. They just went, shit, we need to do this. So to fit in with the timings, that's the only reason they did it. Or they could have released it a week earlier and still had it and not had a double episode drop this week and had it played out as normal. But I guess it kind of gets everyone in a mood, like up for it, because it boosts the numbers by going, hey, this week's a double episode drop. We've got to tune in and get it on there. So
well, look, it's the same thing they did with the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah, it was like two. You should. It's really good.
It's on my list. I'm awful with catching up with some shows that don't pique my interest immediately. But yeah, it's definitely on my list to catch up with. It's like X-Men 97 is still on my list. I haven't watched that yet. Well, I'm too busy rewatching Clone Wars, to be fair.
Why? It's done.
I'm joking. I'm not rewatching Clone Wars right now.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Nah, it's always on the offing somewhere in the list. It's Star Wars at the end of the day, isn't it? So there's a reason why all this stuff is behind me.
Well, I do get you what you mean about no filler, especially when the episodes are only 9 episodes. But I don't feel like this episode was filler. Like it's always interesting to watch Matt Murdock be the hero without him putting the suit on, to me. Especially, as you said, we get Mr. Khan, which we haven't seen since Miss Marvel.
An unexpected cameo. I mean, yeah, let's get into episode 5 then. So the whole premise is that Matt goes to the bank because he's obviously, as mentioned in a previous episode, trying to get a loan out to obviously make sure that they don't they can continue doing business and expand. Yusuf Khan, Ms. Marvel's dad, is the assistant bank manager. And obviously the Irish guys come in to rob the bank because they want to kick out this giant gem that's basically going to be the 1.8 mil that they were told to pay in restitution to one of the other crime families. Obviously Matt walks out the bank, then hears what's going on, walks back in brilliantly, and then obviously spends the episode being both a combination of brilliant Daredevil and lawyer as he negotiates his way through the episode, and then obviously is trying to take out guys one by one. I think part of the reason why they showed this as well before the episode 6 and the return of Daredevil properly is because obviously we've seen Matt fight hard going through the series so far to not return to Daredevil, and he's only fought when he's been pressured into it or been cornered, like with the cops when they put a gun to his head and are about to kill him. He's got no choice, and then so this was almost like eggs him on back towards Daredevil and the fact that he's had to help out and he's trying to save lives essentially, and obviously has to fight. Especially at the end of the episode when he trails the guy that walked out as a cop, and then dons the red mask, a balaclava, and then breaks the guy's leg in half.
That scene, I was just like, yeah, this is cool. And then as soon as he broke the leg, I was like, oh, just the jump and then the crack, and I'm like, oh, you are not moving.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So. Yeah, the whole episode itself as a premise was good and it was enjoyable to watch. Just like I said, Matt negotiating his way through, negotiating the fact that he walks back into the bank to start with and he just walks in whistling and he's like, and they're like, you, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, first of all, lock the door. Why are people still coming in?
Yeah, I know.
And then he's just like, you, and he's like, are you talking to me? And like the blind guy premise of like, I'm sorry, are you talking to me?
There's probably one thing I've noticed. There's a lot of hate of like, not hate, but a lot of comments about him being blind. I'm like, Jesus. Like everyone just ripping on the poor blind guy that could smash your teeth in.
It's just funny because obviously we're sitting there going, okay, yes, he's. Although I noticed once or twice in this series, he's described himself not as blind but as visually impaired. So it's almost like saying I'm not fully blind, but I am visually impaired, even though he's walking with sunglasses and a walking stick. But just hinting about the fact that, well, I'm not fully blind. I still have ways.
Yeah, I still have ways. I can still hear you and I can still beat you up.
I can still smell what's on your breath. Is that a bit of honey cake that you snaffled earlier?
Yes.
Just Matt with the Riz is unbelievable.
Oh yeah, of course. Like the last episode before that when he's talking to that other lawyer, like, come on, like help me out, just help me out just a little bit. It's like peak Mac, Matt. If you came to me and said to me that there was going to be a cameo in Daredevil Born Again, here's the list of the 20 people that could appear on it, and one of them was Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan is not one of them I would have picked.
Well, I mean, it was announced before the series had started that he was going to be making a cameo.
Oh, really? I know they did that with Swordsman.
He was on the cast list before the series started. I saw. So whether that was leaked or whatever, I'm not sure. But he was on the list for me. So. So yeah, I knew he was coming. I just didn't know in what capacity and how they were going to make it work. And it worked really well. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, is this really going to be? Is there any need for it? Is there any point to it?" And it was kind of like, well, yeah, there was, and it worked really well. So,
two reasons why. I think it was really well. Another thing was it just reminded me the fact that. When we always look at these things that happen in New York and everything, it's like, why is the other heroes appear? Why I'm always just Spider-Man? Where's Punisher? Where's everybody else? I'm like, Matt says it right there. And he's like, oh, I know, but you heard about Miss Marvel. And he's like, nope. Like, of course he's not going to hear about her. Like, he's not going to know about all the stuff with what happened in this Miss Marvel movies. He's not going to know any of that.
Especially since he said they're in Jersey City and he keeps himself restricted to Hell's Kitchen pretty much. So
and she's only really popular in Jersey City as well, which we saw in Miss Marvel. So he's not going to know who she is. Matt would be lucky to know who Miss Marvel is, who Captain Marvel is as well.
But it was a great cameo and a great way to interlink or have the connectivity of the MCU start to build up again. Because I think that's something that everyone said has been kind of missed. I know that obviously a lot of the early Phase 4 films and TV shows were done in isolation and in COVID times and through lockdowns, and so therefore they were filming so much stuff at the same time they couldn't really connect it the way they wanted to. Obviously, they've changed things up again. They've brought the TV and films back under the proper umbrellas. Kevin Feige's returned to his original position. They have his finger in everything, along with Bob Iger. So it's made things, returning to the Infinity Saga setup of people and the way of doing things, so there can be the connectivity again. And this obviously just sets up a great little cameo between the two, or a bit of interconnectivity, or maybe even like in Doomsday, there's like a street level stuff going on, and it shoots to a cameo of Daredevil fighting in, or Miss Marvel's fighting in. Daredevil shows up to save her, and he's like, "Oh, Miss Marvel, okay, so
I know your dad."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But would he know her? Wait, hang on. He would probably know her now because he fights in Medina.
That's what I mean. So I would love to actually see the scene of him having dinner with the family. Because first of all, what's even funnier was the fact that the dad never mentions the son once. He just talks about his amazing daughter, Kamala. Doesn't mention the useless son at all. Obviously mentions his wife, but I would actually love to see that scene of actually them having dinner all together. I think that would be great.
That would have been great. I did love how he's like, "Oh, see, I've got a Funko Pop of her." He's like,
custom made Funko Pop. You can't see it.
yeah.
But yeah, great interaction between those two. One tiny criticism I saw someone put down is that when Matt's opening the safe, he's like, "I'm pretty sure modern saves have advanced, so you can't just open them by hearing or listening for the click of the combination anymore." And I'm like, that's probably true, but at the same point, why do you care? It's not something I'd be caring about.
It's not a modern safe either. Like they say, like Kamal, Mr. Khan does say how old it is right before he does that too.
Yeah, fair. I think it was just someone going, "Oh, why isn't it a modern day safe? Why are they using old school safes?" Like Hank Pym in Ant-Man, and he's like, "Oh, my safe is from like 1908." And Ant-Man has to find a way to crack into it. So it's just nitpicking, but at the end of the day, episode 5 was a great fun episode. Great to see Matt just walking around and just taking out guys. I think what makes it a little bit better as well is that in his fight scenes, he seems to... It's not just completely demolishing people straight from the off. Like, whenever we've seen him fight a lot of street-level thugs and stuff like this in Daredevil normally, he just gets rid of them pretty quick. Beats them up, moves on. We've seen him struggle a little bit with some of the bad guys in this episode, like the guy on the stairs, and then the main guy who he breaks his leg. He actually was quite a tall guy. I didn't realise he was that big, maybe tall of a guy. But he shows him struggle a little bit, which just does that show he's obviously just a little bit out of touch because he hasn't been Daredevil for like over a year, even though we saw him training at the end of episode 4 again. So he's just like, he's still obviously a top-notch fighter. He can take out those idiot policemen like nobody's business, but when you're up against people that are maybe used to brawling and fighting a lot of the time, he's like, "Oh, I'm just a little bit undercooked right now because I've not been doing it consistently." So I think that was nice that they showed him have a bit of a struggle rather than just instantly beat these guys. Apart from that one guy when he just appeared behind him and smashes his head against the wall and then walks away.
I know. And then I think that also adds into Daredevil Born Again, is that it's showing the fact that because you haven't been Daredevil for so long, it's showing you how slow you are, and not little touches on like Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, just showing the fact that because you've been out of the game so long, you're no longer at your peak. Obviously, he's not at that age of what Bruce was in Dark Knight Returns, but probably more in line with Dark Knight Rises, I'd say.
Fair. So episode 5, a fun little like one-off episode, is just to break things up a bit and just edge Matt that little bit closer to the return of as Daredevil. So then we get back into it heavily with episode 6, back into the main story of everything. Excessive force. But this wasn't just about Daredevil. Because this whole series has been about showing from the start how Matt and Fisk had changed. and they weren't the same people that they used to be for both for different reasons. Obviously, Matt lost Foggy and decided to give up, and Fisk had his transformative experience at the end of Echo, changing a little bit who he was and dealing supposedly with the anger of who he was and why he was as he was. And then slowly through this series, we've seen both of them edging back closer to their original personalities. And then in this episode, it happens for both of them. So what I love about this is it's not just about Daredevil being born again and coming back to the forefront. It's about Fisk and how he struggled to deal with that transition to not being a gangster, not being in charge of the business as he used to, and then not being able to do all the things as mayor that he wants to. He thinks it's just going to be one of those things that he can just speak and it happens, where he's like, no, he's tied up by red tape. He's got to do all these ambassadorial duties as mayor as well that he can't stand. And so now that's out the window for both of them, because they both return in this episode, and the symmetry between it as well was amazing. Let's talk about Kingpin first then in this episode. So we see him having like the confrontation with Luca, who seems to be like the head of the tracksuit gang now, and
Tracksuit Mafia.
Max, that's the one. And how he like kind of pisses off Fisk because he's like disrespectful coming to the mayor's office and telling him he's not going to pay anything back. And then Fisk goes to see poor old Adam, who's been locked up for a while.
Oh, I know.
And gives him the story about how, you know, when he was younger,
when I was a boy.
And how, you know, against people bigger in size than him, he had to find a way to balance it, and that was to use a weapon. And he throws an axe to Adam, who then obviously goes at him. And it's almost like Fisk was playing a little bit and almost testing himself in a way. He goes like, right, here's a guy with an axe, let me see what I can do. And obviously just beats the shit out of him. And then surprisingly maybe doesn't kill him at the end and just throws him back into the cell and locks him up again. But obviously the release of the original Fisk back to his form.
I did like how he's like, a hammer can be a great equalizer. And I thought he was going to use it, but when he threw it in the cage, I was like, God damn, this is going to be interesting.
And I think what they've done really well in this series is that I think if anyone's noticed the cinematography with Fisk, so it starts off at the start of this series, maybe sort of everything's at Fisk's eye line or above him when they show him on screen. And more as this series has gone on, they've dropped the level of the camera down. So now we're sort of at his mid-waist and under, sort of looking up at him. So whilst we know that Vincent D'Onofrio himself isn't as big anymore, he said that he's now getting older, he struggles to put on the weight, it's not as easy for him, so he can't be the same size that maybe he was 10 years ago in the original Netflix series. And so they countered that with the almost a little bit of storytelling by showing him how he ripped his suit so he doesn't fit in them anymore. And then if you notice that fight scene with Adam, a lot of it for him was shot at his sort of midriff level or looking up at him from lower, so it gives that impression of being bigger, of being more menacing, and sort of like a bigger frame, as he looks down on where the camera is. So I think great decisions with the cinematography to work round that and give the illusion of Kingpin being bigger and more menacing than maybe the actor kind of is compared to 10 years ago.
I couldn't agree more. And just that subtle of when he said, I don't fear my suits anymore. Just the fact that that's just that small cell reference of him creeping back to being Kingpin.
It's been a beautiful transition for him, and I've loved watching him struggle between being the Fisk he wants to be and being the mayor that he kind of has to be. And him going, I made these promises, but realising that he may not be able to live up to them because he's just hands tied by all the bureaucratic nonsense that he has to go through every day, and all these meetings that he has to attend and has ambassadorial duties and stuff like that. Although interesting seeing, obviously, that he goes to this dinner where he's trying to sort of almost woo the rich and influential people of New York to buy into his Red Hook harbour project. And then basically telling him, first of all, we don't buy into this act that you've got going on. You can't buy us, you can't influence us, because at the end of the day, we're kind of more rich and powerful than you are.
Yes, and that's where we get the swordsman back. Yes,
that was a great little cameo. I was kind of hoping to see him in more of a fighting cameo than just a rich guy cameo.
We did get a fight scene with him, only off a video cam.
But still, yeah, but that was I still wanted to just see a scene where maybe like he was battling some guys in an alleyway, and Daredevil comes thinking he needs assistance, and then he's just like, just some
I'm
weird
good.
quips between them. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, I'm fine. You carry on.
I'm
As he
good.
like just. Whoosh.
All done. And that's just to go back on that. That's one thing I do like about this show, which I do love them how with all the episodes so far is that we're getting that feedback from the public of like the fear in vigilantes, the fear in Fisk, how everything's going on. So we're getting that at real time of the events of everything going on, and I do like that aspect of the show. I think it's a nice little touch.
I've enjoyed it. I think at times it's just a couple of places here and there. It was like it didn't really like add anything to it. It was just a bit random, especially since I don't know what they're doing with the character of BB Urick. I'm not really sure where they're going. If she is just this throwaway random, like voice of the people, like video YouTube person or whatever they're doing with her. She doesn't seem to have a maybe significant role to play, really, apart from just being the voice of like normal New Yorkers rather than a mainstream media outlet.
And because she's related to that journalist that Fisk killed.
Yeah, I mean that's the only sort of big reason I can see they put it in there. It's just a bit of fun, especially when Fisk sat down to talk to her and he's like, "Oh, you're named after your uncle Ben." He's like, I knew him, and I'm sat there going, "Knew him? You fucking killed him."
Yeah, I know. I thought the same thing. Yeah, you definitely knew him. Yeah, I did. Yeah, killed him.
You knew him as you fucking throttled his throat, you bastard. And then obviously we sort of get towards the end of this episode with Fisk's bit of the story, and he sets up the anti-vigilante task force because as the episode has gone and it's been revealed that there is a serial killer that obviously by the same sanitation worker that was one of the hostages in the episode before in the bank. It's the same dude, but he comes forth and he's like, "Yep, the murals the paint's made out of blood." 5 different DNA strands for each painting, at least 60 victims. I'm like, damn, Music's been at this a while.
That was what I thought too. When he said 60, I was like, whoa, wow. This is, I would, if I was Fisk, I'd be pissed too. The fact he's got up to 60 and the New York police have done nothing.
Yeah. So he decides that, I mean, it's weird though, because it's not like, he is right. So because there's a serial killer on the loose, we're going to set up an anti-vigilante task force. That doesn't make sense because Muse is not a vigilante. He's a serial killer. So why would you set up an anti-vigilante task force to take down people like Muse when Muse is not a vigilante? He's a serial killer. It's a little bit different. And this kind of buys into my theory of what happens with Muse and Daredevil and the task force, is the fact that they set up this task force, but for whatever reason, they're still... I mean, let's just mention as well that the task force is like the worst of the worst. So all these cops...
Crooked cops.
And,
crooked cops.
And we see it even when Fisk goes to talk to them. He's like, this guy who's top of his class in Chicago, but he's like, but you're not at Chicago PD anymore, you're here. And he's like, why? And he's like, oh, because I did something they didn't agree with, and so I was kicked out. Okay, so you're all dirty cops, and you set up a task force, and he tells them, he's like, just go do what must be done, and do it whatever way you need to get your results, and I'll cover for the rest, essentially. That was annoying, but because you don't want the dirty cops being on a task force like this. But,
no, given that much power, no body cams.
Yeah, exactly. So, but my theory of where that goes is that for whatever reason, the task force just can't deal with Muse. He's obviously got 60 plus murders already, and he's gone unnoticed by doing it. And they just can't capture him. They can't deal with him because he's just too much for them. And so the vigilantes like Daredevil come in, and they're the only people that can take down Muse. So you're then split between the public, who are like, the police haven't done their job, they can't catch and bring down a serial killer, but the vigilantes like Daredevil can. So the public sides with the vigilantes like Daredevil because they're the only ones that can stop this serial killer and the bad guys. And then Fisk is like, no, I've got this task force to do that, but they can't get the job done, so he sends them after the vigilantes instead, and it splits New York down the middle because you've got the mayor and the police on one side and the public and the vigilantes on the other side. And that's why it leads into the theory of season 2, where I said it before when we were off screen, I find it annoying that there's being like leaked set photos and theories coming out in the middle of season 1 kind of ruins season 2, ruins it a little bit with season 2 still to come. But obviously, one of the big rumours is that the Defenders return in season 2 of Daredevil. So Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and the theory that Daredevil puts a team of vigilantes together to help take down the anti-vigilante task force. And so that kind of would make maybe a little bit of sense. It's a great way to have the other Defenders come back in, the street level heroes. And if Matt needed backup, why wouldn't you call the likes of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and stuff like that? So
I did see. It's funny you actually say that because I did see someone's comment, which I do agree with him. The guy, I forgot his name. The guy that's been helping him, like the little journalist guy that's been helping him in the background. That saw the fact that he's Matt in episode 1.
Oh, you mean the ex-policeman, Cherry? Yeah.
Yeah. I did see someone, my comment was like, it would make more sense if that was Jessica Jones.
Yeah, that was me. I said that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Oh, I swear I saw a tweet about it as well, but like, you're right. Like, that should have been Jessica Jones.
I understand why they didn't go down that route, because I think I was chatting with Joey from Krypton to Alderaan about this, and he was saying that Jessica Jones is maybe too much of a loose cannon. If you want to go down at someone for your law firm, because I said that it shouldn't have been Cherry that's the PI for the law firm, it should have been Jessica Jones, because if you're going to use someone as both a PI and as a bit of muscle, then Jessica Jones would be perfect for that. And It was a perfect opportunity to have her as a cameo in this series. But they're like, if you want to go under the radar, someone who's got connections with cops because he was a cop and can get information from them that maybe Jessica Jones couldn't, and someone who can intimidate but not cross the line and still flies under the radar, then he's better than Jessica Jones. That was the reason that it was given to me, and I can accept that. I still think it would have been cool as a cameo to have Jessica Jones be that person, because it was perfect as a role as like a PI enforcer for Matt Murdock, especially since they had great on-screen chemistry with their two characters in the Defenders. So
in Defenders, exactly. But yeah, it would be cool to see the Defenders back. I don't know if it'd be really cool to see Iron Fist back. I'd be like, cool.
I'll give it a rest. He's all right. He's like Iron Fist at the end of it. Like Colleen is now technically, isn't she? So.
Yeah, I guess, but
it's just. I mean, he needs a loan. Why not go to Danny Rand? He's a billionaire.
Well, that's true. He might in the end. That makes sense at the end of season 1. Why not go to him?
But yeah, so that's obviously Fisk's story in this episode is just the return of Bad Boy Fisk, essentially. So he's going to come down hard, I think, on the crime families in the episodes to come. And he's going to start maybe circumventing the red tape as mayor to do what he wants. I feel like that's the way he's going to go. Then we get Matt's story in this episode. So we get this whole bit where obviously he's trying to be still just good old Matt. He's trying to do what he can as a lawyer. He obviously meets up with Angela, the niece of Hector Ayala, White Tiger.
White Tiger.
So Angela Del Toro is sort of goes to see Matt and says, look, he was onto something. He was investigating people disappearing. It ties in with the whole us finally getting to see a bit more of Muse and the fact that he's doing his murals and he's approached by those two women and he just kills them instantly and takes their eyes and shit and makes a painting out of them.
Oh, back up. He didn't approach them.
Well, they went up to him. No, that's what I mean. They went up to him and were just like, "Oh, let's have a picture with you because you're the Muse guy who's been doing all these murals."
Yeah.
And he just turned around and he's like, "I don't think so."
But who? Have you seen Wednesday?
No.
Oh, okay, then don't worry.
Sorry, not my cup of tea. Wednesday.
Fine.
But yeah, so obviously they start doing a bit of investigating, and obviously Angela decides to go off on her own to investigate what's going on, and Matt starts looking into it a bit more, and as he's thinking, because he's seen several points in this episode, he's watching or listening to videos about the old underground tunnel system, and obviously Angela goes off and gets caught by Muse, and he's doing his thing, and this is maybe the one bit of gripe I have about this episode is that Matt's there, and obviously Angela's mum calls him and says she's disappeared. She's not answering the phone. It's not like her at all. And he's like, "Dude, don't worry, I'll find her," because he knows she's gone looking down in the tunnels to see what's going on. And then Matt has that moment where he calls 911, and he's obviously was going to report it to the police, and then he's just sitting there contemplating, and as the woman speaking on the phone, it was a fun little moment when he's just like, "Fuck it," and decides he's going to go off and be Daredevil again.
I like that too. Just where he's like, "Fuck it."
It was funny, but at the same point, it's where I have a little bit of a gripe about this, because we've seen Matt contemplating hard throughout this episode, where he's playing with the horn from his original helmet. And he's like constantly, holding and praying with the picture of Foggy's funeral in his hand, or from his memorial service. So he's been hard contemplating throughout this whole series about his return to Daredevil, and if it should be the right thing to do, if it's the best thing to do for him, and if it's the best thing to do in the memory of Foggy. And then it almost feels like he throws it away on a whim when he's like, "Oh, fuck it, I'll just return as Daredevil." So it didn't quite sit right that they set up this whole contemplation thing for him the whole way through this series, and him having serious thoughts and like, is it the right thing to do? Will there be ramifications? Should I really be returning as Daredevil? And then to almost just have a moment where he's like, fuck it, I'll just go and do it. It almost seemed like it was a throwaway moment just for the sake of having that fuck it, and it like didn't really fit in with how they set him up to be back as Daredevil. But obviously Angela disappearing was the stick that breaks the camel's back for him.
Yes, I think it was. I think it's slightly, I understand what you mean, and like slightly earned it at the same time, just after everything the last few episodes, like, nah, fuck it, we're gonna do it now. Especially the fact that he's a serial killer, he's basically almost an R-rated villain that we've seen in the Marvel universe, where he uses people's blood to do murals, and we see the machine that sucks the blood out of them. So, yeah, if I was Matt, I'd probably be like, fuck it too.
Yeah. I understand why they did it. It just felt like a bit of a juxtaposition to where they'd set up the whole serious contemplation side of Matt by playing with the devil horn, by constantly praying with Foggy's memorial picture, and then just to sort of just be like, fuck it, and he's literally on the phone to 911, and then he's like, fuck it, man.
Now let's do it. Suit up. Yeah,
he does suit up, and this is where we get some amazing stuff. I mean, let's just get the one tiny bad bit out of the way. The lackluster CGI that we got from episode 1 of where he was like, when he's like flying or running across rooftops.
That wasn't that bad.
Well, it doesn't look great though. It was a bit dodgy still. It still looked weird. It's almost like you can tell it's almost like a CGI AI running thing rather than a practical effect of him running.
But yes, a little bit, but it was well earned in that scene where he does do that running and he stops and the church is behind him. That's earned.
Well, yeah, but even then that looked almost a bit too CGI, and the fact that he just they almost like they have him moving too fast because he's not got superhuman reflexes. No. He's got enhanced abilities with his hearing and his weird vision and stuff like that, but he doesn't have superhuman reflexes. He's not Captain America, for example, with his reflexes.
He's just blind, man. He's not getting weird vision. He's just blind. He's just visually impaired. They don't like when you refer to it as weird vision.
That fire vision that we see in series 1 that he has. But no, even that moment in the first episode where he swings across and rebounds off the wall onto the thing outside the church, even that, the CGI is a little bit weird. It just doesn't look natural. And it's almost like they sped it up in a way to make him look he's moving super fast. I'm like, it just makes it look a bit weird CGI wise. It's just not quite the same practical effect of him as we've seen in the Netflix side of it. But it gets to that moment where obviously Muse is draining the blood out of poor Angela, and as Amy says, he wasn't gentle about getting the blood either. Proper jabs it into the leg.
That's what I was just like. We were seeing I knew very little about Muse, and when I did look about it, I'm like, okay, it's cool. How is it they're going to portray this? But no, they've just this is dark, straight up jab in.
And it's not a slow drain out either, is it, of the blood? It's not like it's dripping through like an IV or something like that. It was proper let's fill up this massive tube really quick.
Yeah. Come on, I've got a train station to paint over. Let's go.
And something me and Amy always laugh about is the size of needles that they use in these TV shows or even in films, because they're fucking massive. They're not the same as you would actually use in real life. They're fucking giant needles, man. Yeah. Just jam it in there. It's all good. But yeah, and so then we get that bit where like Hughes kind of hears something going on, and he like just sort of goes outside, and you see the subway train sort of going away, and then he just like focuses a little bit more, and then you just see Daredevil running straight towards him, and again slightly dodgy CGI as he like fires his hook into the wall and leaps forward the CGI again. That's just the weird. It's not as practical as it should be, I think, or it doesn't hit the same way that the practical effects in the Netflix series do, but as he lands that first sort of punch and kick, and the Daredevil music kicks in, and they start fighting. Like, music definitely, yeah, it's peak.
Doesn't matter how many times I hear that theme, I'm just like, yeah, like very much like hearing the Avengers theme, which is one theme I'm really excited to hear again in Avengers Doomsday. Side note, but yeah, every time you hear that Daredevil music kick in, you're like, fuck yeah.
But to like have that sort of brutal brawl inside of his art studio / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sewer hideout,
So blood drainer,
it's brilliant,
facility.
And it's obviously very, very satisfying to see Daredevil back in business. What I wanted to ask you is, before we get into the rest of the episode, is does this come at a cost for Matt? Because it's almost like I put in my notes here that it's a delicious irony, because for Matt to save the city, he has to damn himself to be Daredevil and go against the police. And it's always been a core aspect of who Daredevil is, and the fact that he kind of damns himself in his religious beliefs to be Daredevil and to go against the grain. It's a powerful characteristic that Born Again is showcasing this in a new way for him, and the fact that via Foggy's death he gave up Daredevil, but then the more that this series has gone on, he realised that he kind of needs to help save people again, and he has to like damn himself as Daredevil to save everyone. So how do you feel about that kind of like way that they've gone about that?
Well, I think they've done it really well, and probably one subtle way that they've done that is that we've seen him look at the church, but not actually go in the church. He doesn't feel like he can, and it's good. It's just a good mirror of the fact that like he has to do it. Like it's not. It's like a calling. He has to be Daredevil. He's got to get the job done because no one else is going to do it on this type of level at all. So again, going back to him going, fuck it. Like he's got to be Daredevil, and I think this is going to be very much. It's not going to be him helping the city. It's going to be him helping the city versing the city, like as you said, with the vigilante police.
Yeah, it's just always that interesting thing in it between as we see, that's kind of like the heroes' pitfall so often, isn't it? The fact that they kind of damn themselves for the greater good, and they're putting themselves down to save everyone else, and it's always at their own expense. Then how often, to be fair, how often in real life does anyone get a really happy ending? And the fact that, especially if you're sacrificing yourself for the greater good, it comes at your own personal expense. Which makes it even more interesting in the fact as well is that a couple of episodes ago he was outing Hector as the White Tiger, when he knows how much you have to keep your own, and it's something he argues actually in the court case with She-Hulk in the She-Hulk series when he's defending the guy that makes costumes. He's like, a lot of these people have to have secret identities to protect themselves and those that who you love, and then he just, on a whim to try and win the case, outs Hector as White Tiger.
Yep.
And obviously goes and tells him you can never be White Tiger again because you just can't. Your family's been compromised.
And 2 seconds later,
he gets killed.
Boom.
And it's kind of that kind of. I feel like that should weigh heavier on Matt, because whilst they blame the corrupt police for killing off White Tiger, that's on Matt, to be fair. Because if you hadn't, it was a weird choice because he needed to do that to win the case, and if he doesn't do that, Hector goes to prison. He's probably killed in prison. At the same point, he's outed him, put the family at risk, and got him killed anyway. Okay, there's a chance Hector might have been killed even if he hadn't gone back to being White Tiger. So in a way, you kind of like, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do you send him to prison where he's probably going to get killed by the inmates because he doesn't have his amulet and stuff and can't defend himself 24/7? Or do you out him as White Tiger, win the case, but you put him back in the crosshairs of the public and the police, which is what happened anyway. So
Pretty much.
Matt should know better than most what the consequences of leading a double life are. And obviously, it's taken his toll because he's already experienced the fact that Bullseye killed Foggy and it has gone after Karen several times. So I guess he understands the danger of that. And that's just the lifestyle of a superhero, I guess, isn't it? You've got to weigh up those pros and cons. And at the end of the day, they're sacrificing themselves for the greater good.
And then you have Frank Castle that's like, no, they know who I am.
Yeah, fuck them all. Yeah, everyone should be like Frank.
Yeah, and I will kill you straight up.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not putting you back on the street or into prison. I'm just going to unalive you.
Pretty much. And I always do like that old question, which is one of the dynamics. I love the fact that it's Punisher talking to Matt of just, again, like, you say, you know, and it's the Batman question all the time. You save him, you save him, save him. I put him in the ground. They don't get back up and they don't kill anyone.
Yeah. So, which way do you go? Which way do you go?
That's it.
But getting back to the episode, we got obviously the fight scene between them, and it was almost like in a way Matt was like, because obviously Muse can throw hands. We saw he's got ability to throw hands in this episode.
More hands than I thought he was going to. I must admit.
And there was one little moment where he almost like kicks Matt in the face like 3 times in a row, and we almost like see what might have been blood coming out of Matt's mouth, but he just stands there and takes it. It's almost like he's egging him on, like, come on, I'm ready for this. And then he like absolutely knocks him across the room and then gives out like one of his primal screams and then just goes at him again. There's that moment obviously where he like wraps the wire around his neck and looks like he's about to choke him out.
Ooh, almost.
But he decides to save Angela instead because he decides that that's what he's there to do. He's not there to kill Muse. He's there to save Angela.
And that's right. You've also lost a lot of blood. I better save you.
Yeah. Obviously resulting in Muse's escape, but saves Angela, who was obviously, absolutely positioned herself to inherit her uncle's mantle and become White Tiger, which, again, same in the comics, so it's not exactly going to be a shock when that happens. But,
oh my god, I didn't see that coming.
But it's the return of Daredevil. Finally, we got there, episode 6.
Yes, he's back. So these last 3 episodes are going to be interesting, but I feel like him getting back in the suit has been earned. And we did get that mid-season trailer that does show.
Which I didn't watch.
Okay. Well, there's a lot. There should be a lot coming in the next 3 episodes.
Yeah. The only thing I know is that we did see Frank again in that trailer, as far as I'm aware, as far as what I was told. So.
Yes, Frank, and you want to tell you about someone else, which I don't think is really a surprise if I tell you either. I think you probably already suspected it.
No, don't tell me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, buddy. I just want to be surprised. I like avoiding spoilers to be able to have just a little bit of, even if it's someone I might suspect.
It's Tony Stark.
That's cool. Street. Yeah. This was pre-Endgame then, yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole thing's it's a dream. He wakes
up. It's a fever pitch.
Yeah. He wakes up with Foggy.
Nice. But yeah, it's just because I even if, like, again, why have they put that in a trailer? If it's someone you might suspect, but it's still a nice surprise, why include it in a trailer? Let it be natural. Let it come across the episode and just see it happen. Like, why do they need to spoil these things?
I know. We saw it all happen with Acolyte, and that was fucking awful.
But yeah, so 3 episodes to go. I really hope this is just balls to the wall action in these 3 episodes.
I think it will be, with the Punisher coming back. Someone else is going to be coming back, which I won't mention. I think the last 3 episodes will be a lot more intense.
Wait, just for the record, is it Karen?
No.
Okay, then I was like, then that's not a surprise. I fully suspect she'd appear again in the last few episodes.
It wasn't Karen, but it's someone else.
Okay, is it someone I've already mentioned on the episode?
Yes.
Okay, is it Jessica Jones?
No.
Oh fuck. Okay, then I don't want to know who it is.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, you won't, like, if I tell you, you won't be like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming.
Oh, Bullseye.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we knew that was going to happen anyway.
That's what I mean. Like, that's why I was like, well, you wouldn't be surprised.
Well, it's just the way you said it. I was like, maybe it was someone like Jessica Jones. I was like, that would have been cool. And that would have been pissing me off if they put that in a trailer. But yeah, Bullseye, we knew he was going to be back in somewhere at this, because he's going to escape prison and they're going to have another fight off.
Yes, and from the photo, it looked like also very much like a scene from one of the comic books where he's got like a bullet in his mouth as well. So I'm like, this is gonna be sick. Bullseye going against Punisher, going against Daredevil. Like, I'm in, so in. But I think the last 3 episodes are going to be. I don't think there's going to be more filler stuff like that we saw with episode 4. I think this 3 episodes are going to ramp up to the final, and obviously going to be an intense final. Even seeing Wilson Fisk wearing the white suit at the end of episode 9.
Do you think we see a face-off between Daredevil and Fisk by the end of the series, or do they save that for maybe the next series?
I think it's going to be next season, but I think we will get another sitting scene.
Oh, well, like two of them chatting.
They're chatting, and I think it's going to be very much that, like, you're back doing your thing, I'm back doing our thing, my thing. We both know how this is going to end, and it's going to be like, well, we're going to see, aren't we?
Interesting. I would love to see a fight scene between the two of them by the end of the series, but again, I think Fisk being the mayor, they're not going to give him that opportunity right now, and they'll save that for next season. So
yes, yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be more of a next season, but I do believe that episode 9, we'll see him wear his white suit and going up and going, "When I was a boy."
Yeah, this has been my highly anticipated see. I mean, everyone knows I'm a Star Wars guy, but we've only got Andor, and I'm more into Daredevil than Andor. So so happy we're in the middle of this, and I'm sad we've only got 3 weeks to go.
I know
until this gets finished. So
that's like what I said. That's what I said at the beginning of this episode. I was a bit just like, it's like, oh my god, we're so close. Oh my god, we're so close.
Yeah. No, I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end. Bring back the 18-episode plan.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think 18 episodes, we would have been complaining that 4.5 months worth of covering it. But at the same point, I'm like, don't want it to end. Don't let it end.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to imagine, like, if we still had the 18 episodes, to be like, oh, it's only episode 5. We have 15 more episodes to go.
Oh, it's like, I'm still going to be doing this when I'm 90.
Yes.
Till I'm 90.
When you're 90.
Which for Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart is almost true.
I know. And actually, no, I think...
would it not be perfect, sorry, if in Doomsday you get Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart on screen and all of a sudden Deadpool pops up behind them and goes, "Tell you're 90." just to hammer it in, it would be hilarious.
That would be so good. And I'm pretty sure I think it might still be Hugh Jackman, because I know it might be Iron Man now. It's one of them that might still have the record for the longest portrayal of a comic character.
I think it is Hugh Jackman.
So if Hugh Jackman,
because he's been doing it since '99, so he's been doing it for because that was when the first X-Men film came out, wasn't it? '99?
No, it was 2000.
Yeah, but even still, Iron Man didn't come out until 2008.
No, that's right. Yeah. So if Hugh Jackman is in Secret Wars, which we have no doubt he will be in, he will still have that record of the longest portrayal of a character.
Yeah, he's not going to be taken away from him, to be fair. So
no, that record's never going to be broken.
Just one last comment. Amy saying Punisher could take out the task force in about 10 minutes. Absolutely. My boyfriend would absolutely gun them down.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there is a leaked set photo from the first season that we got, which was the Punisher and Daredevil in a street.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Frank in season 2 of Daredevil took out like 4 fucking gangs by himself. So there's no reason he couldn't take out a task force by himself if he really wanted to.
No doubt. No, 100%.
But Leigh, thank you so much, buddy, for joining us today on this lovely weekend. I say lovely, it's not sort of sunny where I am. I don't know, it's nighttime where you are now, isn't it? So.
Anytime, man. I'm happy to be here. It's always a great time on your podcast and being here. And as always, anytime you need me, I will be there. As I said, I think right now, actually, you are. Actually, after our Daredevil episode the other week, you have had the most appearances on Lights Camera Rant.
Well, and that record's not stopping soon because obviously I'll be back for Daredevil Andor and stuff like that. So
Yep.
it's not slowing down. I need to tally up, to be honest, how many times the likes of you and Brandon and stuff have been on mine and see who actually holds the record. So I think it is between you and Brandon, between who's got the highest amount of appearances.
I think it'll probably be Brandon.
I think in the next 2 months, Brandon will easily have that record.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You have been on quite a bit. I think you're definitely top 2 for the amount of appearances, so I appreciate it. Tell everybody at home where we can find your social media and your podcast.
As very much similar to your podcast, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, wherever you get your local podcast. Threads.
Sorry, I'm like, is that still alive?
Yeah, that's still a thing. It's still a thing. Yes, Threads. LinkedIn. Anytime you type in Lights Camera Rant or Mr. Rant, you'll see this wonderful face.
Mine or your wonderful face? No.
My wonderful face. But I was about to say, before you go to mine, they need to go to yours and click that like and subscribe button.
Absolutely. You'll find links to both our social medias and podcasts and stuff in the episode description, as always, if you want a quick way to find it. But make sure that you tune in next week, because we've got more Daredevil to come. The week after that, obviously episode 8 of Daredevil, like I said, and then the anniversary episode as well. And then we've got the finale of Daredevil the week after that. And more stuff going into Star Wars. So open Star Wars chapter in Crown Mandalorian. 4 epic weeks of Andor, which is like essentially a movie every single week. We've got Thunderbolts in the middle of that as well, before having a bit of a more relaxed time through the end of May and in June before we hit the big month of July. So,
ooh, yeah, and actually,
lots to come.
How many times I've looked at? How many times do you think you've been on my show?
I think you said last time I was at about 9 or something, so like I must be in around like approaching double figures.
No, you're 9.
9. So yeah, we'll hit double figures next month. So
yes, yeah, 9 episodes. Your very first one was back in August 2023.
Oof, blimey!
And what do you think we spoke about?
Oh, my first appearance on your show, August 2023.
Yeah. I
can't even remember what was out then.
We reviewed the very first 2 episodes of Ahsoka.
Oh, well, okay, Ahsoka. Bang. Yeah. Just because they release so many TV series in like the first half of the year now, didn't it? I was thinking, what the fuck was in the second half of the year?
Oh yeah, what was the rest? Yeah, I know.
I swear it's like all the animated series always drops in the second half of the year, and then all the live action stuff is the first half of the year. But yeah, lots to come this year, to be fair.
So much.
Yeah. We're going to plug it loads. 2 weeks' time, anniversary episode, big gathering of all the best podcasts around. So make sure you tune in for that. Saturday the 12th of April. You'll see this beautiful face. But until next time, everyone, as always,
the Force will be with you. Always.
Thanks for tuning in to the Galactic Core Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. But until next time, go get your geek on.